Welcome back and thank you very much. The Daily Graphic says RegSec begins engagements on Dagbon Crisis Chieftaincy Roadmap, I beg your pardon. Ghana certifies first gold bars and men's gold customers protest appeal to President Akufo-Addo to help them retrieve locked up funds. The Daily Guide. Baumia unveils Konedu story. 4 drown at Sekondi Harbour. Minister engages chief over Dagbon peace, and Cocoa Board denies $650 million cocoa cash diversion. Beige Bank boss nabbed for selling bank's properties. The Ghanaian Times, I will build National Cathedral to the glory of God. There you have it on the front page. And we will stop spread of small arms, light weapons, President pledges. That's the Ghanaian Times. Government to subsidize prices of fertilizers for all farmers. And first batch trained teachers begin mandatory national service January 7, 2019. GSA issues first gold production certificate to Gold Coast Refinery Limited. The Herald newspaper. More debt on Cocoa Board's $3.150 US untested fertilizer out there. AG's witness caught with 2 conflicting scientific reports. Deputy Maslock Bob involved in school feeding scandal, and government feeling effects of tariff reduction, says Kwabena Donko, as bills go up next week. The Finder newspaper, Adentan work in progress. Finally, markings for zebra crossing underway. Ghana outdoors first hallmarked gold bar. Veep Lords Bank of Ghana for reinforcing effective regulatory measures. Professor scores government 70% on economic management, and universities lack capacity to admit free SHS graduates. Professor Quarte of ISE there. My guest this morning, the Honourable Member of Parliament for the Kwadaso constituency, the Honourable Samuel Kwejo Nyama. Doc, good morning. Thank you for your time. And Dr. Clement Park is the MP for Busa South. Is joined us here as well. I've forgotten the...
Solunalo.
Solunalo.
I say Kubasa, I say Kubasa.
Kubasa.
That is bully.
Oh, okay.
From,
Yes. So,
northeastern corner.
So I'm learning my Doc, welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Let's start from Men's Gold. It's on the front page. Yesterday, they went on a demonstration 2-hour. They presented a petition to the Bank of Ghana, and they are calling on the president to intervene. But on the back of this, the Bank of Ghana earlier had given 5 or 6 notices, if I can remember, warning the public not to do business with Men's Gold. Then the SEC issues came, so it's been a back and forth, pull and push. Now they're out on the streets. Do they have a genuine concern?
Thank you very much, and it's good to see my brother here. And let me extend good morning to my constituent and your cherished listeners and viewers. What I would say, I just want to reiterate what the finance minister said, that this is purely greed,
Okay.
and we need to have a stop to that. Because it's a personal decision, so you take the risk, you face the consequences if you lose. However, I think that they are all Ghanaians,
Okay.
and if anyone has a genuine issue, he has every right to request for fairness.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know exactly what intervention they are calling for. Are they calling for the government to pay the money to them, or they want the government to chase?
To compel Nanapia Mensah to pay the money. And they're saying they are not greedy, but they are investors.
That would be a genuine call. That would be a genuine call if the government assists them to fish out wherever Nana Mensah is and give out right directions how he's going to reimburse these guys. Because listen, I am on the committee of poverty reduction strategy of Parliament. On several occasions, we met BOG, and this issue came up.
Okay.
We asked them they should explain to us the operations of Men's Gold,
Okay.
whether it is legal or illegal.
Okay.
The response was that the operations of Men's Gold doesn't fall under their remit.
Okay.
So they mentioned Minerals Commission.
Right.
Again, I am on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament.
Okay.
So we met Minerals Commission over there. And the same question was posed to the Minerals Commission.
Okay.
And I remember the team for Mineral Commission telling us that Men's Gold are in good standing in their records.
Okay.
You understand? At no point...
Good standing as in they
As
have
in whatever
satisfied every prerequisite?
Fantastic.
Okay.
At no point in our discussion with them did the name SEC come in.
Okay.
At no point did that name was mentioned by either Bank of Ghana or Minerals Commission. So clearly, you could tell that Nana Appiah Mensah saw a gray area in our regulation system and took advantage of it, because no one actually knew who was responsible of regulating that particular business.
I see. Not the Bank of Ghana.
Bank of Ghana says that it is not within their remit.
And Minerals Commission says
Mineral Commission then no, they were saying that the business that they have businesses with him, and then in their records, he's in good standing.
Okay.
SEC didn't come in.
Okay.
You understand?
So at what point did SEC come in to issue their notice and ask them to stop a certain portion of their business?
That is what baffles some of us.
And on that account, many have said that it was some supporters of Men's Gold and Nana Appiah Mensah have said that there were, monkey hands within your government that were pushing this just to collapse Men's Gold?
No. How would, in fact, if it is aimed to save further people to enter into that business. So who knows? More people could have joined. Now, assuming I understand is 600,000 Ghanaians who have invested in that.
1.8 million actually. That's the figure quoted by the graphic.
So I'm actually underestimate. It could have been 3 million. It could have been 5 million. They could have taken over the whole total revenue of the nation. So it is a right step at the right time to stop that, because no one knew what could happen in the future.
Right.
Knowing very well that they are not actually dealing in what they are saying they are dealing in, it becomes so dangerous. But we need to look at our regulations. We need to critically examine them and close these gaps, because the gentleman took advantage of it at a point that no one knew what was going on. We shouldn't just sit down and then apportion blames. We should go back to the drawing board and see how we can stop the future occurrences, because it would happen again. Because human beings, as we are naturally greedy. Human beings, we want more all the time. Human wants are unsatisfiable. You get one, you want two. You got three, you want four.
Is that what you've been doing?
No,
but I know, but you are right.
If you study economics, that's how it is.
Not even just economics.
That's how. So if we don't close that loopholes and leave it as it is, something else will come in, and you have no other choice than ordinary Ghanaians being vulnerable and getting their money in there.
Doc, we're out here now. It is what we've gotten to. I remember that sometime earlier this week, a manhunt was mounted for 2 persons in the cryptocurrency area. And do we ever learn? That's my question to you.
Well, first of all, let me say good morning to you and my colleague here. And I believe it's, are you a Continental or Katangi?
No, I am a Katangi.
Very well.
I'm surprised you mentioned
So as a vandal, you know we have always stood in solidarity with you.
Yes, you did. In fact, Dr. Park did so well when the issue of the whole convention came in Parliament, and he supported our stand.
He's a true vandal.
Yeah,
he is a true son of Father Baku.
And I respect him so much for that.
And I also greet my constituents of Bulsa South.
Right.
TV3 definitely has been doing a lot of great work.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you saw the recent visit by the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Lands and Forestry on this Rosewood issue. So it's appreciated. So
we're grateful.
Look, let's be honest and sincere with ourselves. The tendency for every human being to try and get ahead, whether by good or foul means, is born out of the quest for self-preservation and survival. And when you look at what we have experienced within the context of the current conversation, Men's Gold, where several Ghanaians, very shocking, 1.8 million, are deemed to be investors and now are suffering the brunt of what is now becoming clear as a scheme that perhaps was too good to be true.
Right.
And you look back in our history and you look at the 90s with the likes of the Piram scheme, R5, we saw the DKMs and others, and now we are seeing Men's Gold. It should tell us that we need to be very vigilant as a nation, and we need to constantly revise our laws, our rules, and our regulations. Because as times are changing, more people are becoming a lot more crafty in exploiting loopholes in the system for personal gain. It's as simple as that. And at the end of it all, we must also begin to speak about enforcement and the role of the state. Because, I mean, why do we have governments? Why do we have institutions? It is to ensure that even when certain practices or certain occurrences are going on or emerge that are inimical to the well-being of society, the states or the state institutions are able to move in to deal with such matters. And so whilst it is the case that within the current discourse of Men's Gold, perhaps there was a lack of clarity in terms of what institution had the authority
Oversight responsibility
to ensure that proper conduct was exhibited. We must also look at the generality of the role of the individual.
Okay.
So the Bank of Ghana, yes, they issued various warnings and put out statements in the public domain warning people to be wary of investing in this organization. But did they have the power to do beyond that? If they did, why didn't they activate those powers that they had?
On the reverse of that, you had some very popular persons, Stoneboy, Shatawale, some of the signees of the xylophone brand who are connected to Men's Gold, and some other popular persons, the Bulldogs, put out videos to reassure the customers of Men's Gold that it was all safe. And then Apia Mensah himself sent out tweets,
very well,
in the back and forth of the
Bank of
Ghana.
They are affiliated to the institution.
Right.
I mean, as I've come to know now,
Right.
it is a multifaceted company with different, if you like, branches or subgroups under it. And by virtue of them being signees, of course, they will do some PR because they also have a stake.
With their huge following.
They have a stake. And perhaps those are some of the reasons why the numbers are as big as they are. And Doc is entirely right. It is entirely possible that the numbers could have even become bigger, if not for the interventions, even if not enough, in my opinion, that came up. But be as it may, we must also begin to highlight personal responsibility. I mean, I have a very simple rule. If it is too good to be true, it cannot be true. I mean, where in this world would any investor legitimately offer the kinds of returns that these institutions use as a bait to try and attract people to invest in them? It is
every investment has risk, somebody will tell you.
But it has risk. But if you look at the returns that they promise, and you know the way the financial system works, you know the way the banking sector works. I mean, it is way
say
above.
That if you look.
Yes.
Okay. So
it is above and beyond.
Your angle.
Yes.
If you, the PhD, you look. Okay. And then if you have knowledge in the banking sector. That is you. The knowledge in the banking sector. But we're not talking about people like you.
Actually, I hear people like me have invested in Men's Gold.
There are big names.
We are told that
who are
there are people even mightier than you and I.
There are big names who have not been able to come out.
If we don't close the loopholes. It's the difference between this and what had happened in the past. The gentleman is still out there, still doing businesses. I was watching Xylophone TV. That's one of his.
But those are different companies.
Yes.
So you can't lump them all into one.
Usually, they just disappear into thin air. But this gentleman is not around. So
an indication that he is legitimate?
That's why I'm saying that. I don't know exactly what intervention the demonstrators are calling
Well, obviously they want
Either
their
they are
monies back.
But
They want their monies back.
Although I have not
They want a
entirely.
timetable because Men's Gold promised that in 90 days the monies were going to be paid to
Yes.
them. So they want a timetable. They want specific dates because most of the promised dates before have been missed. We're trying to connect with the PRO on telephone. so we can get to
The point to be made is that they have every right to call attention to their plight.
Of course, they are
Secondly,
Sunday.
it's not a palatable position to be in.
Are we? Did we bring this upon ourselves when we decided that we're going to pay DKM and the 77 others? Did we bring this upon ourselves?
We need to learn a lesson as a nation as well, and we must be prepared to draw the line and exonerate the state from unnecessary encumbrances of this nature. Obviously, those who invested did not consult the state before investing. And so if the investment has busted, then why would they expect that the state should be the one footing the bill? But you see, because of the history of the DKM and the way it was politicized, unfortunately by your party then in opposition, it has created the impression that if you go on your own goodwill, I mean, no one puts a gun to your head, you choose to invest in a scheme of this nature, and something goes amiss. The expectation now is that the state has to come in and rescue you. And so, by virtue of having politicized the DKM issue, it is now serving as the reference point for what we are seeing.
But the finance minister has been clear. Says
of the agitations
we
that
won't
are
pay you. It's pure greed.
The difference between the DKM and Men's Gold, the DKM issue, Bank of Ghana revoked their license.
Okay.
You understand? So it was a company business running, and you came in and you revoked the license. So they are no more operating.
Right.
So the people who have to suffer because of your actions, you have to pay them back, so to say.
Okay.
But for Men's Gold, their license have not been revoked. You see, they have been asked to provide further particulars.
Okay.
That is all. You've been asked to provide further particulars.
I remember there was
and it's not forthcoming.
There was a one from SEC that went to Men's Gold, and lawyer Kwame Kufu, I remember that statement. He says his client does not understand the directive to comply with it. 6 hours later, they suddenly understood and they complied.
Well, Kwame is a fine lawyer. He's actually my mate. We are the same year group, 92 to 96.
Right.
But I've been monitoring him on this issue. But I must say that this is a very difficult situation, particularly so when now the customers have come to the conclusion that they need external help to be able to redeem even their principals. And that is why they chose to go on a demonstration.
This pressure that they are mounting
from what
on
I
government.
hear, they made other attempts to try and see if,
negotiations, consultations,
their investments perhaps could be redeemed. And once that has failed, they have chosen to go public in terms of their complaint. And so, it is not about condemning them.
Okay.
But it is also about pointing out the fact that we need to be very careful and circumspect. Yes, it is not a bad thing to try and increase your wealth and your worth by investing, but you must properly scrutinize the type of investment that you seek to make, and you must be circumspect about the quantities of resources that you put in such an investment.
Okay, Dr. Nyoma,
and so at some point too, the investors themselves, quite clearly, cannot exonerate themselves from being part of the problem. Because if they perhaps had not been, if you like, influenced by the mouth-watering returns that this organization was promising, certainly they would not have invested.
They're counting on the regulator to protect them. They're counting on the regulator to protect them.
The regulator now says that given the current status quo, the rules available, and the conditions under which this institution came into being, the type of business that it was operating, there is no specific law or a specific, if you like, act that would allow the regulator to exact the needed pressure or, if you like, punishment on this institution, as it has now demonstrated that it is not acting within the confines of the law, and it is a quagmire.
Dr. Nyoma, two quick questions to you. Will this pressure that's now being mounted on government yield any results? One. Two, what do you say to the school of thought that it was because of the economic hardship which pushed people to want to go and get mouth-watering returns?
No, if they are looking for government to pay them their monies, I doubt if it will yield any results.
Okay.
But if they want to put pressure on government to intervene,
Okay.
so that they can NAM can go by exactly his words,
Okay.
then fantastic. I don't see why government can do that. I don't see. But then it's the discussion so far. We keep on going back what they shouldn't have done and what they should have done. You understand? That's gone. It's history now. We are where we are now. We keep on blaming them for taking the wrong decisions. Yes, it's gone. Everyone has to make a mistake here and there in life. You know, when I was on my way coming, I was listening to your program about investment, and you shouldn't be scared to invest, and failure is also part of the success story. So yes, everyone needs to try one way or the other to be able to succeed. But where we are now, no one is talking about NAM, whether he did that in good faith or not. We are talking about the customers, the current government. Where does he come in? We are trying to justify his actions and say he did nothing wrong. It's the customer who didn't take the right decision.
At least when you check with Minerals Commission, they told you that he was in their good books.
Yes. But where we are now, we need to bring him into this.
What do you say to those who believe that, look, if he has done something wrong or he was doing something wrong, we could have corrected him as opposed to the similarly harsh way in which we went about it? Close this, stop this, don't do this, don't get new contracts. What do you say to that?
That's the part of the correction. He was being corrected. Do you have this one? Bring this document. Do you have this? That was the part of the corrections. But initially,
did he yield to that correction?
He couldn't.
Do you know?
That's where we are. We are where we are, because he wasn't asked to stop what he was doing.
Okay.
He was asked not to accept new customers.
Right.
But the business of the old customer needs to continue.
Right. And pay them their dividend.
Yes.
Right.
So no one has asked him to stop what he's doing.
Okay.
But no more new customers until you provide so and so document.
Right.
But then those you have already, you can still keep on trading with them.
Right.
That is where he was exposed. That actually, there's nothing going on. Actually, he's using new customers principle to pay off the existing customers. That is how come he was so much exposed. If not, the business could keep on going, and at the point in time, the majority of Ghanaians will find themselves in there. Because I can assure you, most people in this country, you know, one or two people who are in there. It will be difficult not to see anyone who has invested in men.
1.8.
Right. 1.8.
They are so, there's everywhere. Market women,
number.
security officers, government officials, doctors, everyone. Even I understand people from Bank of Ghana and the finance ministry are investing. And you understand? What don't they know?
People who work for the regulators are themselves.
Because they've been operating for the past 5 years.
Right.
And they've never reneged on their payment.
Right.
It's always on time. So then, what do you have to say about that? So it is so good to be true, as my brother
Is
said.
it the economic hardship that this is a school of thought, that economic hardships perhaps put people there to want to go and look for? Because we understand that some people have actually gone for loans to go and invest there so they can get the dividends and live on that because they aren't getting jobs or business is just not good. Does the government take the blame, economic hardship bullet? Do you want to take it?
You see, if we go by that tangent, then it's going to be political. But obviously, regardless of which government is in power, someone somewhere will not have his pocket full of money. So we can not everyone can be satisfied with the government in power. You understand? So personally, I would say that if we go by that tangent, we're going to dilute the essence of the discussion.
And I think it can be a factor. But as you said, it's very difficult to define because, I mean, everyone in your circumstances and, you know, personal finances and
as we are,
and your motives
of how much
and your motives. But we cannot discount because the purpose of the investment is to increase your wealth. It's as simple as that. So if you have the capacity to go to a bank and take a loan to do other things, and you choose to go and take the loan and go and invest in this, that is your personal decision and your choice. And so you have personal liability to what has happened to you. So whilst the economic factors can also be a factor, I think that I still go back to the issue of personal responsibility.
The folks at DKM, some of them have started committing suicide
Well, with the men's gold, the stories we are hearing already indicates that a similar trend is.
Should we put a human face to this and perhaps say, okay, let's give it up. This is the last one. We're giving them money and that's it. Should we put a human face to it?
Well, that's not for me to say.
Doc?
I truly don't think
as I
that.
said initially, the finance minister on several occasions have said that he's not going to do that.
Okay.
He has said it, and all of us, personally, I agree.
Okay.
I don't see why he should do that, because he hasn't revoked the licenses of the operation. They can still keep on operating.
Okay.
But what I think government needs to do at this point in time to curtail any further suicide.
Okay.
Government needs to step in and then ensure that the men's gold put a proper plan how he's going to reimburse the customers. Because on several occasions he has said that he's not going to run away. Okay. He's going to pay them. Initially he said 40% for everyone, and then I think he came at 15%.
Right.
But how is he abiding by those negotiations?
Okay, let's swap the topic. I'm sure if we had gotten Niyama Matefi on the phone line, his PRO for Men's Gold, we could have gotten. We're still trying to get him on the phone line so we can get it. But page 3 of the Daily Guide, and I would like to tie it in with it. Beige Bank boss nabbed. Information reaching Daily Guide indicate that the chief executive officer of the defunct Beige Bank, one of the 5 financial institutions that were merged into an entity known as the Consolidated Bank, has been arrested. Mike Yineku was arrested in Takoradi, where he was engaged in the disposal of properties belonging to the defunct Beige Bank, a breach of the law under the circumstances, Daily Guide has learned from a reliable source. Upon hearing of the unlawful act after the bank was taken over by a receiver, the special investigation team probing the collapsed bank, consisting of top-notch professionals from various fields, including the police and security agencies, ordered his arrest. I wonder why Mr. Yineku is doing this, but how does this come to you, Doc?
Well, I think that it's
trying
quite
to save
clearly
the crumbs.
unethical to begin with. We all know, at least from the narrative that is available to us in the public space, the conditions under which these banks were merged. Some of us disagreed. We thought that perhaps, an effort could have been made, if you like, to save those banks. Okay. Because if you look at the amount of money that the state has had to expend to liquidate these banks and merge them, vis-a-vis the amounts that they would have needed to be able to survive and perhaps recover. If you do the maths, we are spending more to liquidate them than if we had decided to inject some capital in those banks to keep them viable. But be as it may, that is now in the past. But I think that this is a very unethical act and even criminal, which is the reason why the newspaper has titled it nabbed. Okay. What he's doing clearly is deemed to be unacceptable. Okay. It goes against the grain. Okay. And he certainly doesn't have the right to do what he's purported to have done. And that is what has warranted the law enforcement agencies going after him. But you see, there are all kinds of factors that come into play.
Tell me about them.
Perhaps he feels that the way and manner that his particular financial institution was liquidated was not proper.
Is that for him to say?
Well, what would be the reason for him to try and go and dispose of assets when he knows that he doesn't have the right to do that? There has to be a motivation. I don't want to suggest that he is being greedy. Okay. But perhaps he feels that the way and manner in which it was done was not proper. And perhaps he also has some other, if you like, liabilities that he needs to defray, which may then have influenced this unlawful conduct.
Where all his customers have been absorbed into the Consolidated Bank, their savings have been
from what we hear, even the Consolidated Bank is having issues. When you seek to go and take your monies from that bank, you are asked to wait sometimes a month, 2, and if you are lucky, perhaps they may give you half of what you want to take from your account and ask you to come back another time. So it is not as rosy, even within the context of the Consolidated Bank. But we'll see what happens. This happens to be a matter to do with law enforcement, and it's a running story. It just broke. So we'll monitor and see
Dr. Newama,
the way it is resolved.
Are we at the close of, the president keeps saying that those who are complicit in the collapse of the 7 banks that is, will be dealt with. The governor has said it, finance minister has said it. Are we coming to a close in that matter? Because this certainly is not right.
This is a serious issue. I'll pick it up from where my brother left off,
right,
about the operations of the consolidated bank.
Right.
I think the bank is a national bank now.
Right.
And I have never come across what he just mentioned, that...
Or there have been reports like that.
Obviously, it's a new bank.
Okay.
But it's not because they are deficient of funds.
Why wouldn't they pay customers?
I think it's synchronization of the details.
Of course, so because it's 7 banks bringing that has been brought together. Okay. So obviously, initially they will go through that challenges. But I'm not too sure. I don't think that is deliberate.
It's actually 5 because UT was taken over by GCB Bank.
But I just wanted to tie this one into the men's gold, as you rightly said. This is a boss of Beige,
right, trying
to sell the property of Beige Capital.
Okay.
What happens to Nam if he tries to sell the properties of men's gold now? I don't know if you understand my point.
I understand that, but I should be asking you. You're in government.
No, that is why.
Yeah, you should.
You should be telling us.
I want
What's your plan?
The discussion.
You have the ship.
So far, the discussion now is out of the discussion.
Right. And you want him brought in.
He has to come into discussion. What he did, was it right? What happened? You understand? And then if he's found...
No, but look, we all agreed. In fact, you made a statement earlier, just indulge me, that he exploited loopholes.
That's right.
In the current regulatory framework. So we are holding him accountable.
Yeah, so he needs to...
Certainly, we are not exonerating.
Because he has properties.
Okay.
You understand? And he has said on several occasions that he's going to pay the money. But what happens if, as I speak to you now, he's selling off those properties?
Okay.
The time will come that he has nothing left. So he cannot, even if he is caught, he cannot pay the money.
Right.
So now, that is what I'm saying, that the demonstrators, if they are asking for government to intervene now,
okay,
so that they can hold NAM accountable and responsible, then yes, we all support that move. But if it is about government paying their money to them, then that cannot be possible. You understand? This Beige Capital,
okay,
as my brother rightly said, is so unlawful.
Okay.
You've managed a bank so inefficiently, and government has intervened on several occasions. They've given them, Bank of Ghana has given them money on several occasions.
Right.
They tried to liquidate them. And on several occasions, they failed to bring their books back to normalcy. And the time has come that the government say, enough is enough. Now, everything stopped. Now you've gone back. You're trying to play smart. So over here, we just have to leave it to the law enforcement agencies and then deal with it. They will deal with them. And that will be a lesson for the others.
Okay.
Because I think it's a cartel, the way they operate. These bankers.
Are law enforcement agencies too slow to act?
Well, I didn't know Sovereignty Bank and Capital Bank were related.
Right.
You understand?
Sovereign Bank
and Capital Bank. I didn't know until this thing came up. So I won't be surprised.
620 million.
And government, they were supported by BOG,
right,
and they used that financial support to set up another.
That's right.
One more question: why didn't Bank of Ghana see? Because the board of directors, if you look through it, it's just about minus truly, 1 plus 1 from here.
When it comes to the financial sector and the crisis that we have gone through, and perhaps let's hope that it is going to come to an end, certainly we cannot exonerate the Bank of Ghana. We cannot exonerate the Bank of Ghana.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's very clear.
The governor has said that
they should have known. I mean, if the monitoring unit of the Bank of Ghana was up and doing some of these things that have now come to public attention, suddenly, they should have raised red flags. I mean, I actually think that in all of this, there has to be some sanctions.
Of course.
And there is the need for some reforms as well.
Right.
In the way the central bank itself conducts itself in terms of the implementation of its mandate. Indeed, I would argue very forcefully that the central bank let the nation down.
Okay.
And as far as this issue is concerned. But I am reading another dimension into the point that
we need to wrap up
my
now.
colleague raised, which has to do with the property of Men's Gold, the property of Beige Capital.
Right.
I am reading into that to think that you are suggesting that the state needs to be vigilant,
Right.
in terms of identifying the properties belonging to these entities,
Absolutely.
and keeping some surveillance,
Right.
so that at the end of the day, when all is said and done,
Okay.
the properties of those institutions, like in the case of the DKM and others, could then be disposed
Sold to-
and the resources used
to
to
offset
help
some of the-
offset the many Ghanaians whose resources are locked up. And I think that is a point that
Right.
is worth
I'm
mentioning.
grateful. So they don't
that
vanish,
is it.
so they don't sell everything. We're going.
I can't believe this, just like that.
Our time is up, Doc.
Oh, man.
I thank you very much. Dr. Clement Apak is a member of Parliament for Bulsa South, and he's joined us here on behalf of the NDC. And Dr. Samuel Kwejo Nyama is the MP for Kwadaso. He's joined us here on behalf of the MPP. Doctors, thank you very much. By the way, how do you feel when people who have not written their PhD thesis actually start using
Actually, we feel very angered. It is angered.